it is the same diagram now which is applied to the plant. This is carbon dioxide, this is the leaf. In the presence of sunlight, this photosynthesis takes place. Now sugars are formed. This is source or supply end, high osmotic concentration, high turgor pressure because of entry of water. Now through the sieve tubes, water moves. The sieve tubes are long tubes in phloem where there are partitions with pores, sieve pores. Now through this it comes through the phloem and reaches the sink end, from source to sink. Now here the osmotic concentration is less and it is used, and water enters through xylem and reaches again above. This is the movement of water through xylem, and this is a movement of sugar through phloem. Now this is the same thing explained again. You see here, this is sucrose or sugar formed in the leaves. This is phloem element. These are sieve tubes. These are sieve pores, and this plate is called sieve plate. Now it is loaded here, that is called, I have already told you, phloem loading, and it comes down here. It is sink, that is stem or root. Now it enters here and water moves through the xylem upwards and again comes into the picture at a upper portion. This is Mund's mass flow hypothesis. Another thing that we need to discuss is diffusion of gases, that is there in your course. Now what are the gases that are involved in plant? One is carbon dioxide and the other is oxygen. Carbon dioxide is needed for photosynthesis and oxygen is needed for respiration. Now where from we get our carbon dioxide and oxygen? It is from the atmosphere. Now it enters into the plant and goes out. Through what? Through the stomata, because stomata are the only openings. Now we are talking about land plants. Water plants, it is different. Now carbon dioxide and oxygen. Now inside the plant, how the gases move? Through apoplast they move freely. Apoplast is free space, and symplast, that is protoplasm, they move by diffusion. Now once the gas enters into the chloroplast or mitochondria, the process involved is diffusion, and it moves out of chloroplast or mitochondrion by diffusion. Now which gas is more soluble in water? Carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is easily movable because it is both in gas form and liquid form because it is more soluble. But oxygen is less soluble, so it mostly moves in gas form. Now after the process, the gases move out through stomata. How do they move out? Perimeter diffusion. How do they come into the plant? Perimeter diffusion. Now in mangroves we have special mechanisms for the movement, that is pneumathodes. Sundarban re pneumathodes देकरी मूव करुछ. अच्छा बंद करो टिके. Okay, now I will make a review of whatever we have discussed in the last few classes in the transport in plants. Now, let's review again first the basic concepts. The basic concepts are diffusion, osmosis, and carrier transport, and one more thing that I will add today, which was I had missed, that is imbibition. Diffusion, osmosis, carriers, and imbibition. Now, diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of ions, molecules, or vapors from the higher diffusion pressure to a lower diffusion pressure through a semi-permeable membrane. Higher diffusion pressure to lower diffusion pressure, higher chemical potential to lower chemical potential, higher free energy to lower free energy, and this way. Free energy let us not mention here, simply it is correct, but let us not make it more complicated. Now, from higher diffusion pressure to lower diffusion pressure, higher chemical potential to lower chemical potential. Now, higher concentration to lower concentration. What are the three things? Higher to lower concentration, higher to lower diffusion pressure, higher to lower chemical potential. Now, what is this diffusion pressure? Diffusion pressure is the pressure by which the molecules move. What is chemical potential? The same thing, the chemical potential by which the molecules move from one place to another. Chemical potential can also be said as free energy. Now, what is osmosis then? In diffusion, we don't have a membrane. It moves from one place to another. It is free movement. Higher diffusion to lower diffusion pressure, higher chemical potential to lower chemical potential, higher concentration of the substance which diffuses to lower concentration. In osmosis, the same thing is applicable, but there is a semi-permeable membrane. One more thing, that is, the movement is not only of solvent, no solid, nothing else. Now, solid, liquid and gas, all three can diffuse, but only liquid, that is solvent, can undergo osmosis. What is osmosis? Movement of solvent from higher concentration to lower concentration, higher diffusion pressure to lower diffusion pressure, higher chemical potential to lower chemical potential. The things are same. One thing I want to remind you, that when we talk about diffusion pressure, remember that osmosis is through a membrane, that is semi-permeable membrane. Now, the movement takes place from lower osmotic pressure to higher osmotic pressure. That is because our lower osmotic potential to higher osmotic pressure potential, that is because the osmotic potential is dependent on the membrane, and the solvent is more if the concentration is less, and solvent is less if concentration is more. So, if the concentration of the solution is more, the solvent is less, so diffusion pressure is less. If the concentration is less, the solvent is more, so diffusion pressure is more, from higher diffusion pressure to lower diffusion pressure. So, from higher concentration of the solution or lower concentration, it is from lower concentration of the solution to higher concentration of the solution, whereas it is from higher concentration of the solvent to lower concentration of the solvent. Repeating again, I tell you that movement of solvent from higher concentration of solvent from lower concentration of solvent. When is the concentration of the solvent higher? It is higher when solution is weak, less concentrated. So, and when the diffusion pressure is less, when the solution is more concentrated. So, solvent is less. So, from higher solvent concentration to lower solvent concentration, that means the higher concentrated, the opposite, the lower concentrated solution to higher concentrated solution. Now, osmosis can also be explained through water potential. Water potential is nothing but chemical potential of water. It has 3 or 4 components. The 4 components are water potential, solute potential, pressure potential, metric potential and gravity potential. 4. What are the 4? Solute, which is because of solute present in water, pressure, then metric, that is the substance in which it is moving, and gravity, gravitational pull. Now, so the equation is like this: psi W, that is water potential, is equal to psi S, that is solute potential, psi P, that is pressure potential, and psi M, that is metric potential. Now, the psi M is negligible, and it is believed that psi G is also negligible. So, we are left with psi W is equal to psi S and plus psi P. Now, in osmotic relations of plant cell, we use this psi W is equal to psi S plus psi P. Now, in this, maximum water potential is 0, and one solute enters into the water potential decreases. So, it is always negative, solute potential, and pressure potential increases the water potential, that is, so it is positive. Now, both the concepts are being used. Now, if you want to go into the detail, now you may study the first 2 classes of mine. Now, one thing I had told you that we have left off one thing, that is imbibition. Imbibition is the process of adsorption, ADSO or BPTION, adsorption. Adsorption is a solid phenomenon. Now, you must have seen that when you dip seeds in water, they swell up. फूली जाए मंजी, काहे? Because of adsorption. Here there is a beaker, and here dry seeds are there, and there is water. After some time, you will find that the seeds are swollen. Now, the swollen seeds is because of adsorption. What is this adsorption? Now, the solid surface of the particles gets attached to the liquid molecules. Now the attachment of liquid molecules swells it, and because of this the seed bursts and there is germination. So imbibition helps in germination. And one or two interesting things about imbibition: when the dynamites and other things were not known. Now if you want to break a rock, what was done is the rock crevice, that is फाट भितर मंजी पकईदे पत्थरटा फाटिजिव. You can see how much forceful imbibition is. So imbibition creates a lot of force, imbibition force, which can break even rock. Now one thing you must have observed, when you knead a flour means अट्टा जेतबेले अट्टारे जेतबेले पानी दिया होची, you observe heat, गरम लागियो. Now that is because imbibition causes heat generation. Imbibition causes heat generation. So that is called heat of wetting, WETTING, heat of wetting. Now very fast we will cover all the physiological processes we have discussed, which are based on the basic principles of diffusion, osmosis, imbibition and carriers. Carriers is used only in absorption of solutes. All other processes are mostly explained by osmosis, next is diffusion and third is imbibition. Now absorption of water. Where is water? Water is in the soil. So from the soil water is taken up by the plant through the roots. And in what form water is available in the soil? It is in the form of capillary water, that is in between soil particles. Second is gravitational water that goes down to the soil because of gravity. Hygroscopic water, the water that is attached to the soil particles. Capillary water is in between the soil particles. Hygroscopic water is attached to the soil particles. Runaway water, the water that flows on the surface, and chemically combined water, that is magnesium sulfate with water, copper sulfate with water, they are chemically combined water. Gravitational water is far below, so it is not available. Hygroscopic water is attached to the soil surface, it is not available. Runaway water moves out, so it is not available. Chemically combined water is fixed to the chemical, so it is not available. So the only water that is available is capillary water. Now the whole water available in the soil is called hollard. The portion that is available is called chesard, and the portion that is not available is called icard. Now where in the root the water is absorbed? The water is absorbed in the root hair zone. The root cap is impervious, the meristematic zone is small, at the tip behind the root cap it is impervious, that means it will not allow. Zone of elongation doesn't allow, and root hair zone actually is responsible for absorption. The root hair zone has cell walls with cellulose and pectin. Now the cellulose and pectin get water into them through by imbibition, because it is a cellulose and pectin are solid substances, they get attached. Now water moves from the root hair into the cortex of the root, that is the outer layers of the root, then up to the endodermis, and then to the pericycle, and then into the xylem. This is the path of water in the root. Now coming to the entry, now we have already discussed about apoplast and symplast. Apoplast is space between the cells and cell walls. Cell walls, space between the cells is space, free space, and the cell walls are permeable. That means they have more pores, large pores. So water moves through the pores and also through the cell wall up to the pericycle. This is called so the apoplast and symplast is through the protoplasm. Now up to the pericycle, up to the endodermis, they move freely. At the endodermis there is Casparian strip. Now this is through the protoplasm, that is symplast, and this is through the cell wall and intercellular spaces, that is apoplast, and they reach up to the endodermis. Endodermis has certain strips called Casparian strips, and these Casparian strips do not allow water to enter in, so they enter through certain cells which are known as passage cells, which are present in endodermis. That is not shown here, but there are passage cells which are there in the endodermis. Now there is also active absorption and passive absorption. In active absorption, root is directly involved. Now it is because of osmotically active substances in the root cells. The osmotic concentration or chemical potential, osmotic concentration increases. So water moves from soil into the root. Now but this is not very much supportive. Now passive absorption, root does not play a direct role. Now this is mostly supported by scientists. Now inside the mesophyll cells there is transpiration. Now this transpiration takes out the stomata are here in the lower surface of the leaf. Now the water moves out of the stomata, that is because of transpiration. Now that creates a transpiration pool. How the pool is created? The mesophyll cells synthesize food, so their osmotic concentration increases, so their diffusion pressure decreases. So water from neighboring cells enters in. So a tension is created in the water that moves. This tension moves from mesophyll cells to neighboring cells and ultimately to the xylem. And the xylem of the leaf creates tension in the xylem of the stem, and the xylem of the stem creates tension in the xylem of the root, and ultimately water from the soil is drawn into the root by passive process, by what is known as transpiration pull. This is a passive mechanism which is not involving any energy, and that is the major mechanism of transport of water. I am not discussing any factors here, you can read them from for yourself. Now coming to the translocation of water. Water translocation is taking place, that is movement of water once absorbed by the root to other parts of the plants, higher parts. Now this is also called ascent of sap. Ascent means move up. Why? What is sap? Sap means water with dissolved salts. Now Marcello Malpighi was the first man to say that water moves through xylem. Now the experimental evidence now showed that when there is ringing experiment, this is ringing experiment, from a stem you keep xylem and remove phloem, the plant doesn't wilt. But when you keep phloem and remove xylem, then the leaves wilt. Wilt means sukhi jiva, jauri jiva. Now, so it is ringing experiment. If you keep a poison, the poison like picric acid or copper sulfate, and keep it in keep the stem in that, plant in that, you will find that the plant doesn't die. It is because water is not carried by the living cells, it is carried by the dead cells, that is xylem. And in balsam plant, it has been found that when colored substance is kept inside a beaker and a twig is kept in it, twig mane dalo, kept in it, you find that the colored structure is found in the xylem and not in the phloem. These things indicate that xylem is the path of translocation. Now, though there are vital theories which say that water is moved through living cells, it is totally rejected, though one of the great Indian scientists, J.C. Bose, pulsatory theory explained this. This is not accepted. The theory which is accepted is transpiration pull theory. Before going to transpiration pull, root pressure theory was given by, it is accepted to some extent. Root pressure is a pressure created in the root by metabolic activities. Living cells are involved in this, but if a stem is cut, you will find that water comes out, not in all plants, in some plants. Now, this is because of root pressure, but it has been found that root pressure maximum is 2 atmospheres, and you know that 1 atmosphere of pressure can lift water up to 32 feet, whereas plants of 400 feet are there, and gymnosperms, which are the tallest plants, do not have a root pressure. And if there is a pressure, you must feel it in the xylem, but the xylem shows tension and not pressure. But in small plants, it is believed that root pressure may be responsible. Dixon and Joly in 1895 and Dixon in 1914 explained the transpiration pull theory or cohesion tension theory. This is based on two important aspects of water. The attraction between water molecules is called cohesion, because of which they remain together, and the attraction between water molecules and the surroundings is called adhesion. So, cohesion tension theory. Now, water molecules, because they are attached, they move up and they don't break, and because there is an attraction between water molecules and xylem walls, now even though they move up such long distances, the xylem, the water column does not break, it doesn't leave the wall, it goes smoothly upwards. Now, whatever we have seen, absorption, passive absorption of water, mesophyll cells transpiration, the same process. Now, this is based on one experiment by Boehm, who found that when there is a sponge from which water is evaporated, there is a tube and there is mercury inside this with a tube. The mercury rises when there is evaporation. Now, the twig also gives upward movement of mercury. So, transpiration pull causes ascent of sap or translocation of water. Now, xylem is found under tension in support of this. Now, 1 atmosphere, I have already told you, can lift water up to 32 feet and tension up to 140 atmospheres has been found in xylem. Now, but the objections to this was there are air bubbles in xylem, but this is countered by the fact that xylem tracheids have lateral holes, pores, which are known as pits. Now, if there is a air bubble coming, the water can move instead of one xylem into the side xylem through the pore and move up. So, water bubbles cannot break the column. So, cohesion tension theory is the best theory that can explain translocation of water. Then transpiration can be stomatal, cuticular and lenticular. Now lenticels are pores on the bark or stem, and cuticle transpiration is through the cuticle. So, 5 to 10% lenticular is the minimum. Now, stomatal opening and closing, today only we have discussed, there is no need to, I think, repeat it. The things we have already discussed. Only if we look at the overall mechanism, there are two theories which explain stomatal movement. One is starch-sugar hypothesis and the other is potassium transport. Now, starch-sugar hypothesis is during daytime, starch is converted to glucose 1-phosphate in the presence of the enzyme phosphorylase at pH 7, and then glucose 1-phosphate is changed to glucose 6-phosphate in the presence of phosphoglucomutase, and glucose 6-phosphate in the presence of phosphatase changes to glucose. Glucose 6-phosphate is osmotically active, so that causes opening of stomata by increasing osmotic concentration, and once glucose is formed, that is converted back to glucose 1-phosphate by the enzyme hexokinase in the presence of ATP, and glucose 1-phosphate is converted back to starch in the presence of same enzyme phosphorylase, but the pH is 4.2 to 4.5. Now, active potassium transport, which was given by Imamura and Fujiro. Now, according to this theory, it is not starch to sugar, but it is starch to phosphoenol pyruvic acid, that is PEP. PEP gets converted to malic acid. Malic acid breaks to form hydrogen ions and malate ions. Hydrogen ions get exchanged with potassium ions of the subsidiary cells, and potassium ions enter in and malate ions, potassium ions enter in and hydrogen ion move out. Increase in potassium ion and increase in malate ions results in osmotic concentration increase, and there is entry of water into the guard cells, and the guard cells become turgid and open. Now, coming to the night time, now here the carbon dioxide concentration increases because of absence of photosynthesis, pH decreases, it's wrongly mentioned increases, decreases, and the movement of potassium ions outside is prevented by abscisic acid, a hormone, and then malic acid gets back and malic acid is used in synthesis in the chloroplast. Now, the decrease in potassium ions in the guard cells, causes a decrease in osmotic concentration, and there is exosmosis, and because of the movement of water out of the guard cells, and the stomata closes. Now, why transpiration is called necessary evils? Now, transpiration is useful because of three reasons. It regulates temperature, that is, it causes cooling. Now, it is responsible for absorption and translocation of water, and because of that, transpiration is a necessary evil. Now, diurnal variation is the changes of transpiration during day and night. During day, transpiration increases up to noon, when the stomata close during noon in many plants, because the absorption is less compared to transpiration. In the afternoon, again water content increases in the soil, there is proper absorption, and the stomata open, and when there is night, stomata close. Now, antitransparents like phenyl mercuric acids and abscisic acid are responsible for closure of stomata. They are anti-transparents. Now, scotoactive and thermoactive stomata are scotoactive stomata which open at night, and thermoactive stomata are the stomata which close because of increase in temperature. Now, guttation is a process which is seen only during night. Now, during night, there are drops of liquid at the edges of plants through pores called hydathode. On the right side, you have hydathode. They also have guard cells, but they are non-functional. Now, here it is the liquid which comes out, not the gas. Now, if you compare transpiration, transpiration takes place during day, guttation takes place during night. In transpiration, evaporation of water, and in guttation there is exudation or coming out of liquid. In transpiration it is pure water, in guttation water with dissolved salts. Stomata, cuticle, other things are involved, only hydathodes are involved. Guard cells are functional, guard cells are not functional. Now, stomatal transpiration is controlled, now guttation is not controlled, and root pressure has no effect, root pressure may have an effect. Now, it causes cooling, transpiration, guttation does not cause cooling. Now, evaporation, transpiration I have discussed, there is no need to repeat it. However, normally it is asked as a question, so let me repeat. Evaporation is a physical process, transpiration is a physiological process. Now, evaporation dries the surface, transpiration cools the surface. Evaporation is not regulated and transpiration is regulated. Evaporation takes place through open space surface. Now, transpiration through perimeter or poridi. Area of transpiration is fixed, but area of transpiration increases because of increase in stomata. Absorption of solutes is from the soil and takes place by mass flow, diffusion, ion exchange, not important. Carrier is the most important thing. Carrier is, the carriers are present in the plasma membrane. The carriers have special areas to receive positive and negative ions. They receive it, and there is a conformational change in the protein, and ions are released inside. Now, factors affecting are, this is not needed, and translocation of minerals takes place along with transpiration pull through symplast or apoplast, and organic solutes are transported downward, upward or lateral, and they show a source sink relationship. Now, the source is the leaf and sink is the other parts of the plant, and the source synthesizes food, osmotic concentration increases, water enters in, the water moves along the phloem path up to the sink. At the sink there is flow unloading, and from the sink water again comes out, and this moves through the xylem again back to the system. So, there is a mass flow of movement which is responsible for translocation of organic solutes. This is also called Mund's hypothesis. So, next we will discuss about respiration in the next class.